Hey Gators, Miss Worthen here. Today I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to analyze fictional characters. We like to call this the FAST strategy. It's a fast way to analyze the characters in your fiction stories. This focuses on how your main character feels, how they act, what they say, and what they think. We're going to use the invisible boy, Brian, in the book. So I'm going to make sure that every bit of text evidence that I include from the story is only about Brian. Here we go.
Judy Ludwig, illustrated by Patrice Barton. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. Nathan has problems with what Miss Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice inside too much. Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian, Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian.
Okay, so if you notice, I didn't write anything about Nathan and Sophie because why? They're not our main characters. I'm only focused on Brian and how he feels, acts, says, and what he thinks.
Doesn't. When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for their kickball teams. The best players get picked first, then the best friends of the best players, then the friends of the best friends. Only Brian is left, still waiting and hoping. JT glances in Brian's direction and, just as quickly, looks away. We've got enough players for each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball. In the cafeteria, Madison and her friends talk about her birthday party. The rope swings over the pool was so awesome, says JT. Yeah, so was the water slide, adds Fiona. That was the best pool party ever. I'm so glad you guys had fun, says Madison. Everybody did except Brian. He wasn't invited. At choosing time, while the other kids played board games and read, Brian sits at his table doing what he loves to do best. He draws fire-breathing dragons scaling tall buildings, space aliens locked in intergalactic battles, greedy pirates digging for treasure, and superheroes with the power to make friends wherever they go. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carlotti introduces Justin, a new student, to the class. Brian smiles shyly at him. Some of the other kids sneak looks at Justin, trying to figure out if he's cool enough to be their friend. They haven't quite made up their minds yet. At lunch, Madison and JT watch Justin eat with chopsticks. What's that? Asks Madison as she points at Justin's food. It's bulgogi. What? Bulgogi. It's Korean. Barbecue beef. My grandma made it for me. It's really good. Do you want to try some? There's no way I'd eat bulgogi. And the kids, they laughed. All of them, that is, except Brian. He sits there, wondering which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible.
So he does not laugh at Justin's lunch. And
The next day,
I missed something.
I eat boogergy. And the kids, they laughed. All of them, that is, except Brian. He sits there, wondering which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible. The next day, when Justin goes to his cubby to put away his backpack, he notices a piece of paper with his name on it. Justin, I thought the bulgogi looked good. Brian, yum. At morning recess, Brian finds a piece of chalk on the ground and starts drawing. You're Brian, right? Yeah, thanks for the note. Hey, Justin, Emilio calls out from the tetherball court. You're up next. Sorry, I gotta go, says Justin. By the way, that's a really cool drawing, he adds before taking off. Back in class, Mrs. Carlotti asked the kids to team up in 2s or 3s for a special project. The kids scurry around the room to pair off. Brian heads towards Justin. I'm already with Justin, says Emilio. Find someone else. Brian looks at the floor, wishing he could draw a hole right there to swallow him up. Mrs. Carlotti said we can have up to 3 people in our group. We're only 2. Come on, Emilio. Let him work with us. Okay, I guess. Mrs. Carlotti gives the class directions for the project. Your assignment is to work together to write a story about what you see in that photograph. Use your imagination and have fun. Whoa, cool, says Emilio. What kind of people do you think live in houses like that? I don't know, but I bet Brian could draw them to go with our story, says Justin. Brian smiles as he takes out his lucky pen. Hi, I'm the narrator, and if you're wondering why a pirate got the part of a narrator, I'll tell you.
Okay, let me finish writing what I was writing. So at the end, he smiles because he feels included. So this is how we F.A.S.T a fictional character. It's kind of cool because you'll notice you can see your character change. So in the beginning, Brian felt unnoticed. He felt small. He didn't take up a lot of space, was his words. But he hopes to play. But by the end of the story, you see he's smiling and he feels included by Justin. Justin did that for him. Brian doesn't say much in the story. So the only thing that he really said in the story, the only thing he did was write that nice note to Justin about his lunch. His thoughts, being laughed at, or he thought to himself at lunch, like, what's worse, like how I'm feeling or how Justin has to be feeling right now by getting laughed at. And then there's a lot of actions. Let's see, he's waiting for other people. He sits alone by himself and draws. But then here you see a character change. Now he's smiled a little bit at Justin, the new kid, and he doesn't laugh at Justin's lunch. Then he really has a big action here. It's a serious turning point when he gives Justin that nice note about his lunch and how I don't remember exactly what it said, like something about he would try the lunch, maybe? I don't remember. So then when they go to recess, but when they come back from class, he seeks out Justin. He goes looking for him instead of hoping to play with other people. Now he's seeking Justin out to be his friend. And that's it. That's how we fast a character. Just make sure that you're focused on the main character and you're not getting distracted by the minor characters in the story. All right, see you later, Gators.